Real talk, we get up out our body. You in Norway? I'm in Norway. That's where my main $12 million, multiple houses, an empire built overseas. NBA YoungBoy did something almost nobody in his position has ever done. He took his money out of America, planted it in Europe, and built a real estate portfolio that has left people speechless. This isn't a vacation home. This is a full empire, multiple properties, serious money, and a commitment to a life built far away from the world that made him famous. How did he build it? What does he actually own over there? And why did one of the biggest names in rap decide to plant his flag in Europe? Kentrell Deshawn Galden, born in Baton Rouge in 1999, became one of the most streamed artists in the industry before he even hit his mid-20s, breaking YouTube records, hitting #1 on Billboard multiple times, and building one of the most dedicated fan bases in the genre, largely without traditional radio support. But his rise was never clean or quiet. Legal trouble followed him everywhere, and the pressure that came with that level of fame was something most people on the outside could never fully understand. At the height of it, after a federal weapons case that hung over him for years, YoungBoy spent a significant stretch on house arrest in Utah, not lounging in a mansion, but under strict surveillance, ankle monitor and all. He was still releasing music, still charting, but physically confined in a way that wears on anyone. And outside the legal restrictions was the other layer, the fame itself. At his level, every public appearance becomes an event. Every trip outside becomes content. Mix that with an active legal case and street tension that never fully resolves, and what you get is a life that barely feels like living. Then came the turning point. YoungBoy received a presidential pardon connected to his federal weapons case, and that pardon gave him something he hadn't had in years: real freedom of movement. He could leave the country. He could go places that had been completely off limits while tangled up in the American legal system. And he was smart enough to walk through that door the moment it opened. He's talked openly about how traveling through Europe hit different from anything he'd experienced before, moving through cities like Amsterdam. For the first time in what felt like forever, he could just walk. Not rush, not dodge cameras, not need security flanking him just to grab food. He could genuinely exist in public without the world stopping to watch him. And he said himself that feeling was actual freedom. When you've spent years in an environment where your every movement is either legally restricted or intensely scrutinized, something as simple as walking down the street becomes a luxury. That's really the theme of his whole European experience: anonymity. For most people, being unrecognized is just the default setting of everyday life. For someone at his level of fame, it's something you have to actively go find. Fans have caught videos of him moving through European cities in a way that's almost jarring compared to how he moves through American ones, walking through grocery stores without a massive security team or a crowd forming around him. In America, YoungBoy walking through a Walmart in Baton Rouge becomes a moment, a clip, sometimes a risk. In Europe, he's just a guy walking around. Which brings us to Norway specifically, because this is where the story gets genuinely interesting. When he's been asked where he actually feels most at home overseas, Norway keeps coming up. Not exactly the first place you'd expect a Baton Rouge rapper with a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio to plant his flag, but once you break it down, it makes sense. Norway is deeply, structurally peaceful in a way that feels like a different planet compared to where he grew up and spent his career navigating. The cold weather naturally slows the pace of life. The scenery, fjords, mountains, open water, is extraordinary, and the culture itself values privacy. Norwegians simply aren't known for making scenes around public figures. He developed a specific connection to Bergen, on Norway's western coast, surrounded by mountains and fjords. Local residents and Norwegian outlets noted his presence in neighborhoods there, and members of his team reportedly confirmed he wasn't just passing through. He was seriously looking at property, laying groundwork for something long-term. Bergen is Norway's second-largest city, but it operates with the energy of something much smaller, a place where people walk to the fish market, and the pace of life is genuinely slow, in a way Atlanta or LA never could be. For YoungBoy, it started feeling less like a vacation stop and more like a destination. Norwegian outlets have reported on his interest in purchasing property in the Bergen area, and this is where the European Empire headlines started forming. But what gets lost in that framing is that the house isn't a flex. It's not about owning something exotic to post about. It represents stability, a place where his kids can exist without being content. A roof over his family that isn't surrounded by the chaos that defines so much of his life in America. Looked at that way, it stops being a celebrity real estate story and starts being a story about a father trying to build something real for his children, somewhere the world will actually leave them alone. He addressed the speculation directly in an Instagram Live with Offset, because of course the rumors were flying, that he was hiding, that he'd run, that he was avoiding something. He shut all of that down, making clear leaving America wasn't about fear, and that his priority was peace, family, and a healthier way of existing in the world. That statement landed differently for longtime fans because it showed a version of him that wasn't reactive or defensive, someone who'd made a deliberate choice about what he wanted his life to look like and was standing behind it. So what does the $12 million actually represent? Not ostentation, not the biggest mansion on the block. The through line is privacy, comfort, and control over his own environment, investing in places where his family can move freely, where his kids can go outside, where he can wake up without immediately having to manage his public image. Framed that way, what you're really looking at is a man who spent millions buying back a normal life, which makes complete sense for someone who hadn't had anything resembling one in years. The contrast between his two lives is stark. In America, house arrest, a federal case, every appearance becoming a moment, security concerns complicating basic daily life, an internet ecosystem dissecting his every move. In Europe, walking through Bergen without creating a scene, going to the grocery store and just being a person, raising his kids somewhere, the morning routine isn't also a public event. Fans who've watched the footage from both sides can feel the difference without being told what they're looking at. He moves differently, carries himself differently. And the reaction from his fan base has largely been genuine happiness, a kind of relief after years of watching him cycle through arrest after arrest, controversy after controversy. There's also a real question about what this means for his music and his business going forward. A lot of what powered his early catalog was raw energy born from real pressure and real urgency. But that came with a cost that went far beyond music. With distance from the noise, with more space to exist as a person rather than a content machine, what he creates next could shift in ways that are genuinely interesting to watch. And on the business side, his label and team keep running, but decisions made with a clearer head and without constant reactive pressure tend to produce better long-term thinking, which, for an artist who built a catalog this massive before his mid-20s, could translate into something that surprises people all over again. Norway itself is a genuinely unusual choice worth sitting with. Most celebrities seeking privacy abroad gravitate toward the Caribbean, Dubai, or Europe's flashiest cities. Norway doesn't have a celebrity culture like London or Paris. No paparazzi camped outside restaurants, no tabloid ecosystem built around who was seen where. The natural environment commands attention instead of the people moving through it, and that cultural respect for personal space is baked into the country in a way that's genuinely inhospitable to the kind of relentless attention that follows major American celebrities. For someone at his level of fame, that difference isn't a small detail, it's the entire point. The distance between YoungBoy at 17 in Baton Rouge and YoungBoy choosing to raise his family in Bergen isn't just geographical, it's personal. Growth that happened publicly, through courtrooms and controversies and real loss, that somehow came out the other side looking like peace. The $12 million is interesting. The personal evolution behind what that money actually bought is the real story. Because money can build mansions and studios and business empires, but it can't buy peace of mind on its own. That takes a series of deliberate, sometimes unpopular decisions that prioritize the long game over the moment. And it looks like he's made them. His greatest investment might not end up being his catalog, or even the property scattered across Europe. It might be the quiet life he's built for himself and his kids in a country where the biggest star in the room is still just a fjord at sunset. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Where do you think this next chapter takes his music?